Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Just to put it straight,
Yeah.
you're not Tod Scott Brody.
I am not Tod Scott Brody.
No. James Barclay.
Yes.
You are a Canadian director
I am.
working out of Aarhus. You live in Denmark?
I live in Denmark.
Yeah. When we started this story about Tod Scott Brody, we thought that he had only done his special film work in Copenhagen. Later we found out that he had done the same stunt in Sweden.
Right.
But then you come into the story.
Yeah.
10 months ago, you write an email warning to numerous people in the Danish film industry.
Yes.
Could you repeat your warning tonight on national television?
I have it in English.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was in Danish, but...
Yeah, but we're translating this.
All right.
Yeah.
Dear friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, this went out to about 75 people throughout.
Yeah, you can do it in the...
Up there?
Yeah.
This went out to about 75 people in the film Byen in Copenhagen and in Aarhus. And I wrote, Dear friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, I was recently contacted by an American producer named Tod Scott Brody, who is from New York but currently lives in Malmö, Sweden. Even though Tod has some impressive producer credits on his CV from the middle of the 90s, be aware that he has a long history of criminal activity behind him and has been arrested for fraud, grand larceny, and was also investigated by the FBI. If Tod contacts you, please exhibit caution and protect yourself. He is extremely charming and intelligent, so please be careful. Good luck to all, James. So,
why do you send out this warning?
Because I spent about 2 to 3 weeks of my life interacting with him, and by the end of it, I learned a lot of things about him that, to be frank, scared the crap out of me. And I felt that even though I'm not an investigative journalist, I have no desire to cause trouble. And in retrospect, you know, I was concerned about retaliation on his part, but I felt it was kind of my duty to warn people, at least through email form, that he was a dangerous character.
How do you meet Tod Scott Brody?
He contacted me through MySpace. I had a profile up that said I had made a film with some Danish, well, some known Danish actors.
A film called Himmerland.
A film called Himmerland.
Starring Nikolaj Coster-Waldau.
Yeah. And Zlatko Burek and some other actors that are probably familiar to Danish audiences. And he just said, I'm a quite famous American producer. I have some good credits on my resume. I'm fed up with America. I've moved to Sweden, just over in Malmö, and if I wanted to meet for a coffee, he would love that. So of course you think, fantastic. I went over and met with him, and he was charming, and he had great stories to tell. We sat for about 3 hours, and you know, he told about the day Robert De Niro got mad on the set, and he had to go over and calm him down, and Meryl Streep and Leonardo DiCaprio, and of course you're just engrossed in these fantastic stories of these famous actors who most people probably never known anyone who's met them except for a guy like Nikolaj, who's had small parts in these big American blockbusters. But here's a guy who actually knew these people and knew how to get in contact with them and knew how to get them in your movie, for example.
And you had this dream about making a new movie.
I did.
And how can Tod Scott Brody help you?
Well, I had a script, and of course, when I went over to meet him, I just happened to have a script with me. And during the conversation, it came out that I was making this new film, and that I was looking for about 1 million krona. That was going to be my budget. And at the time, I had about 250,000 myself. And he said, well, let me read the script, and I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can help you out with some financing. He took it home, he read the script, he called me the next day and said he was going to fax it to some people he knew in New York, and if they liked it, I would have the rest of my money.
How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, you take everything with a grain of salt, and yeah, that would be great. If it worked out, great. If not, then that's life. But it doesn't hurt to try. So, but 2 days later, he called me and he said, they love the script. You got the money. What you need to do is go set up a bank account in Denmark with the film's name. You can open the account, and we'll get the money transferred to you, like maybe next week. And it all happened so quickly. Suddenly, I had the money to make the movie.
And he suggests that he's going to produce your movie?
He did. He was going to produce it, and I said, but how much do you want? Because $1 million kroner is not a lot of money to make a movie. He said, don't worry, I'll take my cut out of the back end, meaning the film will get released, it'll make money, and then as soon as the profit starts turning, he'll take a cut. So everything seemed, perfect.
And you check his credits?
I did, and they were outstanding. I mean,
and some of his credits is that he's also involved in his own movie. He tells you about The Old Cemetery.
Exactly. He told me about that, and at the time he said he had a big star. He couldn't tell me who it was, but that he'd also talked to Connie Nielsen. And
Connie Nielsen?
Connie Nielsen.
So
you want a picture of her? Yeah, that's Connie Nielsen.
This Connie Nielsen?
That Connie Nielsen.
Yes.
But at the time, he wasn't going to direct it. He was going to produce it. In your story, he was the director. Okay. But at this point, it was a woman named Gitte Mikkelsen who was going to meet with Connie in New York. And actually, she did meet with Connie in New York.
Gitte Mikkelsen?
Gitte Mikkelsen.
But that's the name of the
character. He told me that the script was based on Gitte's life, that Gitte wrote it, and that she was going to direct it.
So Gitte Mikkelsen meet Connie Nielsen in New York?
In New York. And this is the first red light that jumps out at me, because Connie Nielsen was pregnant at the time, close to 6 or 7 months pregnant, if I remember right. And if Gitte Mikkelsen was sitting in New York with a pregnant Connie Nielsen, and Todd's saying they're going into production in 3 months, there's no way those numbers add up. So I thought, well, either he's got his facts.
She'll give birth in the middle of the production.
Yeah, exactly. So that was something that bothered me, and
so you start to get a little suspicious.
Exactly.
And then you get a message from Sweden.
Well, no, I actually I brought Tod over. I paid for his train ticket, brought him over to Aarhus, and I introduced him to the director of Aarhus Filmbuen.
Okay.
Because I thought, if Todd's going to be involved, then the Filmbuen would most likely, more specifically the Vestdansk Filmpulje, would give me some money for my film. And they were very happy to meet him. We had a good meeting. Tod, again, was very charming and told a lot of good stories, and everybody was happy. And then we left. And later that night or the next morning, I got a email from the director saying that he had heard from the director of the Swedish Film Institute, saying that they had been doing some research on Tod, and some of his credits weren't true.
And that leads you to an American woman, and you talk to her,
exactly.
And what does she tell you?
Well, I went on the internet and I started searching for clues as to who he really was then, and I found a woman who had been burned by him, who had her money taken, who I think, I can't remember the amount, but she was in New York, and she left her email. I sent an email, she sent me her phone number, I called her, and she told me a horror story, very disturbing.
She invested $400,000 in her friend's movie.
Yeah.
They started shooting, but the shooting...
Then, she told me that the money ended up going, he was writing checks to, his child support payments, and he spent all the money.
That's only one story from America, because